let's get to the AEW, folks. You want to do that? Talk about the AEW. Talk about the AEW over there. We mentioned something about her. We did some of it on the drive-through because I couldn't wait to see the MJF and Regal segment. So we talked about that from this past Wednesday night's Dynamite on the drive-through. But there was a couple other things on the program, including Danielson and Dax. But what am I hearing now? We've already talked about William Regal and his short-lived fucking association with MJF and how this whole thing has fallen apart. There was not a clear linear story told. I know they're going to try to blame it on, well, we didn't know Punk was going to be gone. And even if he hadn't been gone because of the media scrum, he would have been out with an injury, yes, but then they've been going back and forth and changing this shit since then. And now suddenly William Regal has turned on the Blackpool Combat Club and allowed MJF to win the AEW World title, starting a long reign of MJF and Regal, a reign of terror as the Heenan and Bockwinkel combination that lasted a grand total of 10 days and one television appearance until MJF then knocked Regal out and fucking left him laying. And we mentioned at the time, and I guess time will tell. Who was it that wrote that classic lyric? Only time will tell if we'll stand the test of time. Time will tell, but it's looking ever more like that we were correct, Brian, when we said that they are trying desperately to figure out a way to hurry up and write William Regal out of this dramedy that they got going on to get him out of there. And it's being reported, Tony Khan won't comment on it, but it's being reported in a variety of places that Regal is anxious to go back and work for his friend Paul, which we obviously have said that there's no way that Regal would have been fired last year if Paul had been in charge instead of Vince. And now EC3, who has worked with Regal in the past, as you know, in Regal's job is, important job in developmental in NXT. And EC3 has made comments to the effect that he believes that Regal had buyer's remorse on that contract and he's trying to get the fuck out of Dodge. Do you have those comments that he claims Mr. Regal made?
I have it here. Apparently EC3 did an interview. It's nice to know that the Carter family name has continued on in wrestling. Here's the quote. He's too valuable to not be in a developmental system. I know we could say, oh, he's there mentoring the people in AEW. The thing is, they're not listening. The talent doesn't listen to the veterans for the most part. When he went over to AEW, the word was, he said, I immediately regret this decision. There's very much a maturity issue here within management. And that's the end of the quote.
So, let's see now, that JR gave advice and was publicly ridiculed on Twitter and on social media by the young folks over there for trying to give advice. Punk said, well, nobody wants to listen to anybody's advice. Old Hangnail actually came out and said, no, I don't look for or listen to much advice. We've heard that, I don't know who made the comment, but I've heard Billy Gunn shakes his head a lot at why the fuck won't they listen to me?
I think Road Dogg made that comment.
Road Dogg made that comment. Do you think there might be something to this?
And I think it's more than talent. We're talking about management too.
Well, he did say, or according to EC3, Regal said there was a maturity issue with management. A maturity issue with management, almost like that the people at the actual top of the company have never done any of this before, but yet won't take advice from people who have. It's almost like that. But that can't be right, because that's what we've been saying for quite some fucking time now, is it not? And of course, we're never right. That's what a lot of people on the internet say, until it comes out that we turn out to be right and things happen that we said were going to happen. And they got lucky. So
he's talking about Tony, Regal, though, too. I mean, you're just really talking about talent.
No, I'm talking about Tony.
Okay.
The people at the very top of this company have never done. I'm talking about Megan. She's supposed to. Wake up yourself. She's supposedly number 2, right?
Yes.
She's under Tony. Well, I don't know what goes on after hours.
No, I wouldn't say that. Not Tony.
But at the same point, she's number 2. Well, I don't want to categorize her with.
Tony has called her the number 2 person in the company.
She's the number 2 person in the company.
In terms of corporate structure, yeah.
Okay, well, she's never been to a goddamn wrestling match for fucking 6 months, probably before that goddamn company was founded. So Tony's never done any of the shit that he's tried to do before in his life, except, as we know now from his public comments, with his 2 other E-Fed friends, where they would book their E-Federation for each other. And it was amazing how that even though the fans in the arenas weren't real, they could get the feel of what was getting over. And by the way, we didn't make this one point when we talked about that clip also, but Tony mentioned starting the E-Fed for Wednesday Night Dynamite in 1995. I guess he was like 14 or 15 years old, right?
A little bit younger than that, because I was 14 or 15 in 94, 95, so he's younger than me.
Okay, 12 or 13 or whatever the case. And then he mentioned he followed it up with Friday Night Dynamite in 2010. He would have been almost 30. He started a second E-Fed because there was such demand.
Well, give him credit as a promoter. He didn't rush the second show. I'm sure there was a lot of pressure from the network saying, Dynamite has been such a hit for almost 20 years now. We want a second show. Took him a while.
Well, anyway.
Responsible.
So, anyway, the whole thing, he had all that free time since he wasn't going out on dates, apparently. If he did, he was coming home from the date after he told his girl that he was booking an E-Fed. But Tony hadn't done any of this before. Megan, what is her name? I can't remember what her name is.
Mega Parikh.
Mega, or is it Mega?
It's Mega.
Or is it Migo?
It's not Migo. The worst figures ever. Go?
Back when the rains came, down in a hollow, playing a new game. None of these people. And then you got the EVPs who have done what they allege is wrestling, but have never EV'd any Ps. The guy in charge of the video game, I understand I don't know anything about video games, but I understand from people who do know a lot about video games that this thing's taken a long time. And he put the love child of Richard Simmons and Leo Sayer in charge of a $100 million project. So the point is, everybody is making up for their complete lack of experience over there by not listening to anybody that has any.